So, what happens when you get two of the most influential minds in technology? We're talking Elon Musk and Jensen Huang in a room to talk about the future? Well, you get some absolutely staggering predictions about work, intelligence, and even our place in the universe. We've gone ahead and distilled their conversation down to the most crucial insights, and we're starting with a prediction that could completely redefine how we think about our careers.
And boom, right out of the gate, Elon Musk just drops this bombshell of an idea. Not that work is going to change, but that it could become completely optional. Something you do because you want to, for fun, not because you have to. This one single provocative thought really sets the stage for everything else that follows.
Okay, so is this future where we don't have to work? Is that just a given? Well, it's not quite that simple. Musk and Huang actually lay out two very different visions for what happens to our jobs in the age of AI. They're not totally at odds, but they are looking at it from different angles. And what's so interesting here is the contrast. You can almost think of it as two different points on a timeline. On one hand, you've got Musk's long-term, almost utopian view. He sees a future with so much abundance, all created by AI and robots, that things like jobs and maybe even money, they just might not matter anymore. Work becomes something you do for passion, like a hobby. But on the other hand, Jensen Huang has a more immediate take. He argues that AI isn't going to make us lazy. It's going to supercharge us, making us so much more productive that we can finally get to all those ideas we've had on the back burner. In his world, we'll actually be busier than ever. And Huang has this perfect real-world example to back this up. He brings up the case of radiologists. Everyone thought, okay, AI is coming for the radiologists. But the exact opposite happened. The AI tools made them so good and so efficient at reading scans that they could help more patients and do a better job. The tech didn't replace the person, it made them a superhero, which actually created more demand for their skills, not less. So what's the engine driving all of this? Whether we're talking about optional work or super productivity, what's under the hood? Well, it's this concept that Huang calls AI factories. And this represents a truly radical shift in what computing even is. So, an AI factory. It's not your typical data center that just, holds on to files and sends them to you when you ask. Think of it more like a creation engine. It takes your request, it understands the context, and it generates something totally new. An image, some code, an answer, right there, in that moment. And this is the absolute game changer, right? This massive shift from retrieval to generation. For forever, computing was basically a giant library. You'd ask for something, and the system would go find the book that was already on the shelf. But generative AI? Whoa. That's like having an author on standby, ready to write a totally unique book just for you every single time you ask a question. This is the core innovation that makes this whole new era possible. All right, so we've got these incredible AI factories churning out almost limitless digital intelligence. But here's the thing. For that intelligence to really change the physical world, it has to be able to, well, do stuff in the physical world. And that's the crucial link back to Musk's vision, where this intelligence steps out of the cloud and into our lives through the mass production of humanoid robots. And the scale he's talking about here is it's almost impossible to wrap your head around. Not just a big industry, but the single biggest product category in human history. Bigger than cars, bigger than phones. I mean, just think about that. He's imagining a future where pretty much everyone will want a personal robot on top of all the ones used in factories and businesses. And you have to understand, for Musk, this isn't just about selling a cool new gadget. The end game here is way bigger. He's arguing that this combination, limitless AI intelligence plus limitless robotic labor, is really the only practical way we can create a world of genuine abundance, a world where something like poverty could actually be eliminated for good. Okay, so if you thought a robot in every home was a big idea, you're going to want to buckle up for this last prediction. This is the most audacious one of them all. Because as AI gets smarter and smarter, its need for energy is going to get so huge that Musk believes we literally have to move it off the planet. I know, it sounds like something straight out of a sci-fi movie, but the logic behind it, it's actually grounded in some very real, very physical limitations. And the simple answer to why space really comes down to one thing: power. And this chart, wow, this really puts the problem into perspective. The entire United States, right now, runs on an average of about 460 gigawatts of power. Musk thinks that pretty soon, AI alone could need another 300 gigawatts. I mean, trying to build that many new power plants here on Earth, he argues it's just not going to happen.
But here's the thing. In space, all those problems just vanish. You've got nonstop solar power, 24/7. It's always sunny up there, right? The solar panels themselves can be way cheaper and lighter because you don't need heavy frames to deal with wind and weather. And cooling? That's a massive expense down here. In space, you just radiate the heat out into the cold vacuum. It's that simple.
And maybe the most shocking part of all this is the timeline. We're not talking about some far-off, distant future. Musk is predicting that in just 4 or 5 years, it'll actually be cheaper to do large-scale computing in space. He sees it as a totally necessary step for humanity to become what scientists call a Type 2 civilization. Basically, a civilization that can harness all the energy of its star.
So that's where we land, on this final, totally mind-bending question. We started with the idea of optional work, moved to these AI factories, then robots for everyone, and the logical path leads us here, to space. You have to wonder, is our planet just the starting point for intelligence? Is its real future out there, among the stars? It's a pretty huge thought to chew on, as we're all standing right here on the edge of this incredible new era.